Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming along to this presentation webinar on the topic, how to create your own trading templates in EdgeRater. It's a topic that's been asked for quite frequently and something that I'm happy to get around to doing now. Now that we have EdgeRater Pro 2024 out and released, this is a good time to go ahead and do that. So, first of all, what is a trading template? That is obviously the question you would ask at the very beginning. And a trading template in EdgeRater is something that encompasses ideas and methods systems from the subject matter experts. So people who are known to be good traders, they've got their systems down already, they know what they're doing. And what they then need is something that will assist them in highlighting the stocks that should be on their watch list, that they are particularly interested in. And it's different for different people, obviously. So everyone has their own set of tools and indicators that they like to use. And so a template is a way of encapsulating that data and putting it into a report so that when you run it in EdgeRater, you get a report detailing what you personally should be looking at. So here's a few of the people who have templates associated with their names, and you may recognize quite a few of these folks here. And here's a few examples of templates, just so we know what we're talking about. When you run a trading template in EdgeRater, you end up with a report. And the report consists of essentially, on the left-hand side, a Excel-like spreadsheet with a row per symbol and the indicators in an area. In this case, we're looking at the Ken Long critical state scans. And so the indicators are over here. And then generally on the right-hand side, there will be a chart, and the chart can be associated with this template. So when you write a template, you specify what chart indicators you want to see on the chart when you're clicking through the report. When you write a template, you also specify what indicators you are using and what you want to highlight. Here's another example of a template. This is the undercut and rally template from Gil Morales. So, it's very different to the one we just saw. It processes a different set of indicators, and it comes up with a different set of signals that are appropriate for this type of trading. Here's another example: Guppy multiple moving average from the book Trend Trading by Darryl Guppy. And in the book, when you read the book, you'll find that it talks about a bullish case for stocks and a bearish case for stocks. And then there are various items within the bullish and bearish case. And so the template will pick out those items. It will run the correct formulas and tell you whether those items are appropriate for each of the stocks in your list. And in this case, you see the chart has been associated with Guppy multiple moving averages. So very different look to some of the others that we talked about. Here's another example, VPA. This is volume price analysis by Anna Cooling, the book Complete Guide to Volume Price Analysis. And here the stocks are analyzed. You've got the items from the book that are important, whether there's major, minor, intermediate trend, and then the signal description. Here's another example. This is one that isn't really based on any book, but is just a very useful template to have, which is the good, the bad, and the ugly. And fairly extensive. It goes through day, week, month, and year, and also the prior days, the prior weeks, months, and years. So in this report, you just get a list of all of the performances of all of the stocks over the various time periods. So it's very handy. And then reports are written, templates are written using Microsoft Excel. And so they are spreadsheets. And so you can display information in any way that Excel could display information. So here's an example, which is %B buckets per symbol, where the information is not displayed as simple yes, no, and color coding, but then there's ways in Excel to display these bars indicating how far you are within the signal. So this is an example that just uses a different kind of rendering with Microsoft Excel. If you can do it in Microsoft Excel and render it in a way that once you've rendered it in the way that you like in Excel, you can have a template that renders it in that same way as well. And then another example, this is Larry Williams. There's many examples. If you look through, this is the Straddlebusters report. Yeah, so if you look through EdgeRater templates, you will find we have over 100 templates in the system. So go to the template gallery. If you go to the EdgeRater website and look at products template gallery, you'll see the complete list of EdgeRater templates. It encompasses all of those and more. And the templates that I just showed are examples of what are called last bar value templates, in which the cell is actually showing the values or calculated values from the very last bar of data that you have. So it's not going back through history and showing you the history of all the other bars. There is a template for that. It's called the history template, but we're going to focus today on the last bar template. I'm going to write one of these. So there's quite a lot to get through here. So let me just see what we have in. Yeah. So I'll go ahead and we'll start now it's going to be pretty much me using EdgeRater, and hopefully I may be going quite quick through this, but there will be a recording, and I would encourage you to watch the recording and pause it at various points and just try and create your own template to show you things that you're particularly interested in. So let me go ahead and start with this process. Okay, so here we are. We have EdgeRater running, and you will have noticed if you run the program that there is a category of templates called starter templates, and contains two templates, which is your starter last bar template and your starter history template. Okay, as I said before, we're focusing on the last bar template today, and you saw the examples of what you can produce with a last bar template. Now, to create your own last bar template, you have to use Microsoft Excel. So this is one of the requirements. The EdgeRater software program itself does not have a facility where you can create templates. You do it externally in Excel. You create yourself an Excel file, and then EdgeRater can load that Excel file and do the necessary processing to run the indicators that you have provided or suggested or said that should be run in the template. So one of the important things is to know on your file system where things are stored. So in your documents folder, in the EdgeRater folder, under templates, there is a system folder, contains all of the templates that appear in EdgeRater that we saw on the right hand side. Contains the category. Categories are also templates, just so you know, but also contains the actual templates. So in order to create your own template, start with the last bar template. Let's start with the starter template. And we can find that just by, well, we can just sort by name and scroll down, however you want to find the template. But it's called starter last bar template. And so I can see it's right here. And all I will do is copy that template. Control C will copy, and I'll put it in the folder above the system folder. I don't want to keep it in the system folder because that folder is something that EdgeRater can update at any time. And there is a potential that it could delete the folder and recreate it. And you don't want your templates in there to be deleted. So copy it to the folder above, which is called templates. Change the name of the template because that will just make it easier for you to know what's going on. I'll call this webinar demo template. And then I will double click on it to open it in Microsoft Excel. And I will not need to choose a theme for that. Thank you. Okay, so when you load this template in Excel, bear in mind now we're just looking at Microsoft Excel and nothing to do with EdgeRater. Okay, we're looking at the template. the file, it's an Excel SX file. It's a workbook. So anybody familiar with Excel will feel right at home here. And if you're not familiar with Excel, there's lots of online resources to quickly get started with using Excel. And as I go through this, I have a fair amount of experience using Excel, so I may just assume things. I apologize for that, but let me know if there's anything that's really not clear. Okay, so the first thing I will do here is this template has been configured such that you can't, it's just configured for display within EdgeRater. So what I'll do to start with is just turn on my view. I like to see the headings when I'm designing a template. This allows me to see the A, B, C, D columns and the 1, 2, 3 rows. I like to do that. I'll go over to the values worksheet in here. I will unfreeze the panes. So now we can see lots more information, and also turn on headings so I can see all of that. So this gives us a good starting place for the template. The other worksheets within this workbook are the chart layouts, and this is where you can define what you should see on a chart when you're clicking through a report generated from this template. And then the parameters sheet. This defines what type of template it is and the name of the template. Okay, but we've done enough work here now just by copying that over to the folder, the templates folder, that when I'm in EdgeRater and I look in the category of templates called My Templates, because every template you put in the templates folder will become one of your own templates, and there's a category of templates for that. it's called My Templates, and you just have to find it, and it's right there. Okay, so if I click on that, I'm now looking in EdgeRater at the template that I've created in Excel. And when I'm creating templates, I always just like to have both the EdgeRater open and the Excel open at the same time. I use a machine with multiple monitors. I'm sure a lot of people do. So you can have one on each side, but in the webinar, I'll just have them either side of the same screen. Okay, so first off, the template is called Starter Last Bar Template. It's not a very good name for your own template, so call it something appropriate. Now, I call this my webinar demo template. Now, if I just change that and I just save this, you'll note in EdgeRater, so on the right-hand side, we're looking at Excel. On the left-hand side, we're looking at EdgeRater's view of that template. So in EdgeRater, it has completely changed what we're looking at. It's changed it to this particular parameters worksheet, and it's also replicated the change I just made, webinar demo template. But notice also in the template library, it's now called this webinar demo template. Obviously, you'd call this your own name. Okay, so that's the first thing you should do, just to make sure you know that you're no longer working on the starter template, you've created your own template. Okay. If I click over, whenever I save a template and whenever EdgeRater develops a new template and releases it, we never save the template on any of the other worksheets in the template. We always save it on the template info. So we make sure template info is active, and then we click on save, because then when you load the template in EdgeRater, that's the worksheet that will be displayed to you. And in most cases, it makes a lot of sense to display the template information page. So because we've called this webinar demo template, let me just change the name over here. I'll call it webinar demo. That'll do. I'll delete this information. I'll just save that. And you see over in EdgeRater, that's already changed to what we've just entered. So that leaves us with the two important worksheets within this workbook for creating a template, which is the values worksheet. Could be called anything, doesn't have to be called values, but by default, we call it values. And then the chart layouts worksheet. And that does have to be called chart layouts. Okay. So from what we've done so far, let's just run this template. What you're going to see is actually the output of the default last starter template, starter last bar template, which is basically processing Bollinger Band upper, mid, and lower and giving the values for Bollinger Bands. That's not what we want to do. We have a specific thing that we want to present, that we want to have the template produce to inform us of our trading and the stocks that meet our trading criteria. So that's the goal here of this presentation, is to create a custom template. Okay, so first off, we need to have an idea for what we're interested in. If we're not interested in Bollinger Band closes, what are we interested in? And one thing that I thought about, I came up with an idea was, okay, I'm going to go over to the chart script designer, and I'm going to actually create a brand new chart script. You don't have to do this step, okay? If there are scripts already in EdgeRater that are useful for you, and you just want to bring all of those scripts into one report, you don't need to create your own chart scripts. But in this case, I have this idea that isn't represented in any of the existing chart scripts. What I want to do is create my own chart script. And the idea that I have is based around moving averages, okay? Lots of people talk about moving averages, but there's an interesting, what I think is an interesting idea, which is long, medium, and short period moving averages. So if I create, this isn't a presentation about creating chart scripts. We'll have one of those in the future, but so I'll do this relatively quickly, but it's just gives you a sense of how you can create your own templates using your own custom scripts. So what I'm going to do is just create a line here, which is an MA long term. I'll call it long term, MA long term, and this is going to be a moving average of 200 period of the close price. And what I will do then is just save this script. It will compile it, and we can see that the 200 period moving average, it's been added down here as this indicator. This script is called test indicator, by the way. Just bear that in mind. This will become important. I'll create also an MA midterm, and I'll call it MA close 50. And I'll also create an MA short term, and I'll call it MA close, let's say 10. Okay, so I've got 3 moving averages. I will compile this. 3 moving averages. 3 moving averages are on my chart already. And so yeah, let's take a look at the chart. So we've got the 200 period, the 50 period, and the 10 period moving average. And if I zoom the chart out, we can see we're looking at Alcoa, but we could be looking at American Airlines or Airbnb. Okay, and we can see how these moving averages are interacting. So maybe our trading idea is that we don't want to be even considering trading stocks if they're below a 200 period moving average. And actually, if I'm glancing at these various charts, I can see that it seems to be a better trading opportunity if the 50 period moving average is above the 200 and the 10 is above the 50. So essentially, they've lined up. You have an alignment in moving averages. Those cases, they seem good. And then you have cases like this where the alignment goes out of whack, and that doesn't seem like a great time for trading. Okay, if you could avoid all of this, that would be good, right? And you just want to be into stocks if you're trading on long term in nice trends. So something like, for instance, this move up here. Okay, so that's the idea that I want to write a template for. So I have these 3 moving averages. What I can say is I'm going to generate a true false condition, a 1, 0, and I'm going to call it a line. So things are aligned. Moving averages, I'll call it MA underscore align. moving averages are aligned if the MA midterm is greater than MA long term. Okay, I'll say that. I'll put that in brackets because what I also want to do is do an and. You can't see that. So and MA short term it is greater than MA midterm. Oops. Okay. So, right. I'll just compile that, compile success, all good. Now, what is interesting, whenever you're creating a template and you're trying to create your own scripts, it's definitely good to put this information on a chart so you can verify your scripts are actually doing the correct thing. So what I'll do is there's a very important attribute to a script line called no render, which means don't render the script on the chart. So just bear with me while I just enter that for these three. Oh, no render. There we go. I'll leave it off for this one here, and I'll save this file. That will compile it. And so what you've seen down here, this is where the indicator is shown. This script is now output in this area down here. So whenever there's a 1 value, it means my condition is true. All of these moving averages are now aligned whenever the blue line is here at 1 value. And they're not aligned when the blue line is down here at a 0 value. Okay, so the idea is you're trying to avoid these downturns, but you want to be alerted when the moving averages are aligned and moving in the same direction. Okay, and this template, so now you've written a script, you can see it on a chart, and looks like stocks that you just might want to be thinking about instead of stocks that are not like that. For instance, here, look, DraftKings, you've got this whole time from here, which is essentially right here, if you can see my cursor, all the way through to here, where you would not even consider trading the stocks because these moving averages are not aligned. That is the idea of the template, to just point out things that are aligned. Does that make sense? Before we continue, let me just check to make sure everyone's still on board. Yep, either everyone is asleep or everyone understands the premise of this. Okay, cool. Great. Okay, so yeah, so we have this all. Yeah, thanks, Jim, Brock, Dan. Nice. Okay, awesome. It's good. Good to get some feedback. Okay. Simple idea. Template's written. Important thing to know in this template, sorry, not the template is not written. The chart script is written. And the important thing to know in the chart script here is, how do I reference this script from a template? And there is a reference name in a script. If you hover over reference name, it'll tell you what the whole purpose of reference name is. And it's basically the name that you can refer to this script in from a template. Yeah. So in order to get data from this script into a template, the template needs to refer to my.testIndicator. If you're looking at a script that's in the scans, the system scans, it's going to be scan. If you're looking at a script that's in the system indicators, you don't even need to use a prefix like my dot or anything. It's because system indicators is like a special category. And so you just use the raw name. But in your scripts, you'll use my dot as your reference. So bear that in mind. Also important, remember these names. These are the names of the output lines you have created. So MA long term, MA midterm, MA short term, and MA align. All of these are available within the template. And that is all I'm going to say about chart scripts at the moment. I'll close that down, and that down. We'll pop this back over here. And now we'll try and figure out, how do we get this information into a template? Okay. So here we'll go and we'll have to edit basically create our Excel file. So we have to go into Excel and we have to do editing within Excel. So this is where we need to know a little bit of information about how EdgeRater picks up, interacts with the template. And the answer mostly is that EdgeRater knows what you're doing in a template by the use of named ranges. This is an Excel feature. So if you're not familiar with Excel, there's lots of, as I said, lots of resources online to learn about. But so I'm going to quickly go through this. It's all about named ranges. Here, this box here in Excel will allow you to select various already configured named ranges. So ER data, anything with ER underscore is something that has been defined by the EdgeRater understands. So ER data essentially is this line here. Okay, you can see the whole range of data that it's pointing to, just this row. Not even the whole row, just the range from A to H. Let's take a look at ER date col. That's an important column. That's the date column, and that is the column C. ER header row, another really important column. Important row, and that is the whole of row, in this case, row 7. Okay. Now the scripts are defined in ER, anything with an ERF. F is for formula, and ERF underscore gives you the formula ranges. So ERF underscore 1, and this is the one we're going to be focusing on most because I'm assuming that columns A through E are going to remain the same. You can change them, of course, but let's just assume we're only changing anything from column F onwards. Okay, so here we have ERF underscore 1. This is a defined range, and it has to start with ERF underscore for EdgeRater to be able to say it recognizes that range, and it's going to research that range and find any formulas that are defined within that range. And at the moment, there's a BB formula with upper, mid, and lower as the output. So ERFO is the formula output, essentially the lines of the formula that we want to put into the template. So if you remember, in our case, we're not using BB as a script. We're using, I didn't even change the name. I just left it as test indicator. And let's just go back and just make sure we know what we're talking about. So this test indicator is called my.testIndicator. So I can change this BB to be my.testIndicator, and I can say what I want these columns to show. And I would like a column to show MA underscore long term. I would like a column to show MA underscore mid term, and one to show MA underscore short term. You might wonder why these are grayed out. And you don't have to have them grayed out, obviously. It's just that to avoid, when you're looking at the report, this is not useful information in general. Okay, so I just try not to kind of hide that information. So you could turn it on to make it more obvious. That's fine. These are just Excel ways of formatting using Excel. So you can do whatever you like in there. But in general, when a template is released by EdgeRater, we do not highlight the formulas that are used because the information is not useful. We just highlight the actual report data. Okay, so I've turned that on now so you can see exactly what it's referring to. We essentially end up with something called referring to a formula, my.testIndicator, and within that formula, we're referring to the lines long-term, MA underscore long-term, mid-term, and short-term. If I just save this and close down the script designer, and go over to the template and run this template. Okay, I'm now looking at a report generated from the template. And we have the values. Now, of course, I didn't change upper, mid, and lower, so that's not great, right? So let me just change that to long, medium, and short. It really doesn't matter. This is display information only. I'll go back over to the templates tab and run that again. Okay, so now we have long, medium, and short. These are the moving averages. But what the most important thing in this template was to find out when the moving averages were aligned. And if you remember, there is a output line in the script called MA align. MA align is when the midterm is greater than the long term and short term is greater than the midterm, produces a 1 or a 0 value. Now I can add to my template a new column. And I will call this, I'm looking for MA underscore align. I'll say aligned in the header here. And then the value is typically going to be a 1 or a 0. Now, what I've done here is something that may get you a little confused when you've created this for yourself and you run the template and you find that the align column doesn't have a value. There's nothing in there except for the very first row. Why is that? The problem is that I added this extra column, but I didn't change my ER underscore data named range to include that column. And I also didn't change my ERF underscore 1 formula and the formula output to include that extra column. So that's something that will catch you out, and you have to just be aware of that. So go to the name manager in Excel, go to ER underscore data, change the named range to include that extra column, go to ER, I'll say that, go to ER underscore F1, we'll change that to include that extra column, and we'll go to the formula output, and we'll change that to include the extra column. You'll find out how to do that using obviously Google to do some research about how to use Excel and named ranges. Okay, so now if I come over here and I say, where's my data range now? It is the whole of this range. That's good. If I say, where's the formula output range? It's the whole of this range. This is good. Everything looks good now. I'll save that. I'll come back over to the templates and I'll run the template again. And now we have proper 0s and 1s in the aligned column, which is good. And we can typically sort, by doing the normal EdgeRater functions of clicking in the header, we can sort by the header. So we can sort for everything that's aligned. And if I just bring this up as a full screen, we'll take a look at some of the charts as well. Okay, so now I'm looking at stocks that are, all of these stocks have the moving averages aligned. Okay, so maybe some of them are just starting in a new trend. Maybe that's a way to detect and pay attention. Keep them on your list of stocks that are interested in, if that's how you're looking at stocks and trading. Okay, so that's something. But what we didn't cover so far is, now we're doing for time, pretty good. I am moving quite quickly through this, but there's a lot I want to get through. So the chart layouts tab, at the moment, this is empty, which means that if I was to, in EdgeRater, if I had a different chart layout selected, for instance, I was looking at any of these other layouts, for example, when I'm looking through my report, it just keeps the layout that I had originally selected. It's not specific to this report, to this template. And what I want to do is I want to have a specific chart layout for my template. And in this case, what I want to see for sure, whenever I'm clicking on any of these rows here, is I want to see the stock, I want to see the 3 moving averages, and I want to see my alignment 1 or 0 value. Okay, so how do we do that? And that is, as you probably saw, good guess, it's all about this chart layouts tab in the template. This is an Excel way of referencing. So range values exclamation mark ER_data is a way of referencing a range of cells within Excel. And it's actually looking at the values worksheet, values, and then looking at the ER_data range, which currently in the template itself, ER_data is just the first row. But when EdgeRater runs, and it runs it against all the stocks, you end up with a large list, a large number of rows, and ER_data, the named range, is changed to encompass all of those rows. So what the chart allowance is saying is whenever you click within any of those rows, it's going to display the script that's defined in here. So let's set up a chart layout for that we want to use. So what I would like to see, as I said, is some moving averages. I'll have 3 moving averages, please. So I'll drag, well, first of all, let me change this to a single chart layout. So remove all these other indicators that are on there. And now I'll go back here and do this, what I'm trying to do here, which is basically putting on moving averages. So I've got 3 moving averages. I'll drag 1 over, I'll drag another one over, and another one over. So it's 3 here. And then I'll set the parameters up to be the 10 period, the 50 period, and the 200. Okay, so that's a good start. And then the second thing I want to see is to have a sub area. And what I would like to put in the sub area is, in fact, the script output that I just wrote. So if I double click on that, that's going to pop that in there. That's nice. So I've created that. All I do now is press save my chart layout. I'll call it MA align as a name. So now that layout is saved. That will always be available in the My Layouts area here. So MA align is always there. But it gives us a clue as to how to fill in this important field here, area scripts. Okay, the way we do that is we go to File System, EdgeRater folder, we look at Configuration, and there's a Chart Layouts folder, and there's a My Layouts XML. So basically, it's the way the system understands it. It reads this file to find what the layout is. But we can also open this in Notepad, and we can look at what did I call it? I called it MA_align. It's this area, this line here. That is exactly the line. I'm just going to copy that, and I'm going to put it into this area here. And I'm going to say the size of the area is going to be, and this is basically a ratio. So I'm going to say I want the main area to be 10 and then the sub area to be 2. And I am done with that. I'm going to save this. And I always like to save, whenever a template is being released, save it on the template info page, as I said. And we come back over to templates over here and run this template again. And okay, so now we have the each of the report rows is linked up to this specific chart layout. And we can prove that because if we go to a different layout, for instance, this layout, and then we click over here again on this new layout, we're now showing the specific layout that we want for this report. Okay, so that's configured. That's good. Okay, so there's a couple of other things that are interesting, and you may have noticed in EdgeRater that whenever a new template is released, there might be some fancy formatting applied to a column. For instance, when something is aligned, I don't necessarily want to see a 0 or a 1. I want to have a better, a more appealing way of seeing that. So let's just look at that. Let's focus on that column for now. Come over to the values in Excel, the values worksheet. Whatever formatting you have in the cell that you are designing is the format that gets carried over to EdgeRater. So I can change the format of this aligned column. So there's an Excel, many ways of doing that in Excel. One thing you can do is you can say, go to the home area here. I can say conditional formatting. I can say highlight the cell. If it's equal to the value of 1, I'm going to highlight it with a green fill with dark green text. Okay, so I've set a conditional format up for that. I'm going to save that. Okay, I'm going to come over and run the template again. Okay, so now whenever we have an alignment, we have this formatting, green fill with dark green text. Okay, that's okay. Maybe that's a little better. It's still not great. So, but there are other ways of formatting as well. And one thing that I've started to in EdgeRater that we've started to do quite a while ago is instead of coloring and putting every single bit of information in, it's just the information that's important. Give it a yes. Okay, don't even bother giving the no's a no, because that's superfluous information. We don't even care about them, and it just is distracting to the eye. So I just want a yes if there's a 1, and if there's a no, I don't care. So say that's the way you want to show it too. What I can do is turn off conditional formatting. I can say clear rules for the selected cell. And another thing you can do in Excel, this isn't a tutorial on Excel, so you have to kind of look up in Excel separately. But another thing we can do is create a special custom format. And what I can say is that for a 1 value, I'll have it be blue. I'll have it say yes. And I think that's all I do. Yeah. So now if this column is a 1, it's going to say yes. If this column is a 0, it's going to just be blank. So 1 is yes, a 0 is a blank. Save that. I'll go back over to the template, run the template. And now we have a yes for cases where there's an alignment and a blank. These are things we don't care about. So we're just not even going to give an output for that. And so it just makes it a little nicer to look at. I think that's an important thing when you're creating a template. To create your own templates is to have something that's a little nicer to look at. So any of the formatting that you can do in Excel will carry over to EdgeRater when you run the template. That's good. What else did I want to say about this? In the parameters worksheet, this is where it defines, I think we already covered this, the name of the template, but also the template type. Last bar values is the type to use for this type of template. Why is it called last bar values? It's really because on a chart, there's a last bar on the very right-hand side of the chart, and it's the values for whatever indicator you've put on there for that last bar. So these values are also highlighted on the axis. So the 200 moving average, you can see that it's highlighted there, 136.89. That should match up exactly with the value here. 136.89. Although, yeah, so that is the short-term average, sorry. So 136.89 short, 130.54 over here on the template for medium, 130.54, and 127.85 for the long term. When you're creating templates and scripts, double checking, triple checking the values match is very important, because there's lots of little things can come out and get you. Do not rely on just the data alone and the underlying processing, just make sure, verify visually that things are working as you would expect. Okay, there was one other thing that, well, there's more than one thing. Okay, so we've basically output values from the script, but you can also there are calculated values. So Excel is obviously very good at doing calculations. So if I wanted to put another column in here, and here's a little trick. If I insert a column between short and aligned, it actually stretches my named range now so that it encompasses the whole of the data. So it just saves you going into the name manager and changing those named ranges. So what I want to do in here is put in a calculated value. So I want to know if, let's say, if close is above the short-term moving average. So I'll say C greater than short. And this is basically an Excel formula, which you always start with equal sign. You can say, and we have close already put into the spreadsheet. So we can say if close is greater than the short, true. And I'm just going to copy over this here. Yep. Okay, so this is now a calculated column, calculated in Excel, and here's the Excel formula right here. It's not coming from the script, it's calculated within Excel. And you'll notice also that the auto filtering drop downs here are not present for these two extra columns I added. So this is something in Excel you can just go in and go to the data, go to filter, turn it off, turn it back on again, and now it's added this drop down. And it's also added for an extra column, which we can delete. That's fine. I'll save that, and let's see what happens here. I'll run the template, and oh, we don't have anything for C greater than short. Well, that's strange. So it's always good to check on these things. And it's probably to do with the formatting. So before you do any formatting, it's probably just a good idea to put the raw number in without formatting, so you can see if there's any output there. So let's try that. So I'll come over to remove formatting from here. I'll just make it a general specific formatting with maybe a couple of decimal places. And I'll come over here and I'll run the template. And yeah, so it's not actually outputting any values into that column. And we have to ask ourselves why that is. Well, right now, it's because I actually removed the formula by my just typing a 1 in there. So I'll have to type that back in, equals, and this time I'll just, okay. The Excel formula for calculating or displaying a true-false condition is if. So I'll say if close greater than, and then I'll say the short-term moving average, and I'll output a 1 if it's true, and output a 0 if it's false. Okay. Now I will save that and run the template. Just make sure we get the values that we're expecting. So yeah, we've got zeros, and there's a 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. Obviously, the formatting of this is not good. We need to change the formatting back to this aligned formatting. So I can do format copy, pop it over there, save, and then run again. Okay, so now we have these cases, so we can sort and filter. So now we've got all cases where all of the stocks are aligned, and also the close is above the short-term moving average. Okay, so these are stocks that are obviously, still moving, still moving up. If the close is not above the short-term moving average, then there's been some sort of pullback, and so you can kind of also see those in here. So if you've got aligned, we could filter by aligned is true, and um, and then we have and then we have aligned is true, and in this case, close is not above the short-term moving average is below, so some kind of pullback. So lots of things you can do in there for displaying the information you want. The other thing, this came up recently, last week. There was a question from a somebody writing a template. Is there a way to link to external data, like on a website? So we all know that Yahoo has rich information on their websites about stocks. Is there a way to be able to link from the stocks in here to the Yahoo website, for instance? So here's an example. So this is Yahoo website, and this time, if you look at the URL here, it's looking for Adobe. It's just I happened to type in Adobe and then go to the financials for Adobe. And what it's said is that the way to get to that information is to use this particular URL. You type that into your address bar. Okay. Now, if I could use that in EdgeRater, put that URL into each of these columns, but instead of using Adobe, use the name that appears in column A in the symbol list, then I'll have an automatic link over to Yahoo. So that's something that I want to do next. So I'll go over to the template. I will create a new column right here, right in the middle, and I'll call this my Yahoo link. So financials, I'll call it Yahoo financials. Boom, pop it in there. And I'll paste the link in that I have received already. I won't just do that. There's a formula in Excel called hyperlink. I'll type that in, and then I'll type in the hyperlink that I want, which is the one I just copied from Yahoo. But you'll notice here that it says Adobe. This is where we want to replace it with whatever the symbol is. Okay, so way to do that in Excel is to end that first quote and then concatenate it with this cell over here. Yeah, and then concatenate it with the rest of the whatever else it was. I'll be financials. Okay, if I just say that, we've now got a cell which contains that that link to, it says quote ABCD. So that's not correct. We want it to be, let's come over here. It's got to be quote /ADBE. Okay, so we always have to double check about these things. We need the / on the end of that quote. Okay, so we have it all set up there. And if that was changed to something else, ABC was going to be MSFT, that would change also over here, and the link would be good. Okay, ABC. ABC is just your example row. It's not really, actually, was a real company, ABC. I think they may have changed their name. Anyway, so yeah, so that's how you do a link. Now, if I save that and I run this template, you should see the links to all the financials, the links to all of the financials for each of the different rows. So Beyond Meat, for instance, I can click on Beyond Meat. I'm now looking at the Yahoo financials for Beyond Meat. Okay, so really it's a nice way of just, you can use EdgeRater as your source for doing your scans and then have links to the other sites that might provide extra information. So that's a great way of doing that. Now, one of the problems with doing the linking, of course, is that's a very long URL. It's made the column quite large and it's pushed everything else over to the right-hand side, which generally I don't like to do. We like to have all of the good information visible. So with the hyperlink function in Excel, you can actually give it an alternative name, and we'll just call it link. Oh, I'll just call it link like that. Okay, and I can shrink the column right down to around about there, and I'll run the template again, and boom. Now they just say link, but it's the same link. I'll just click on it. So we go to now the financials for Citigroup. But there's lots of websites, obviously, that people use. So you have Finviz is a website, and they always have the symbol in part of the URL. So you can have links over to Finviz, whatever charts you're looking at. You can have links over to stock charts or links over to TradingView. Whatever websites you use for the extra information or for other charts or other styles of chart, you can link to them from your own design templates in EdgeRater. So we covered quite a lot over here. And let me just say that we have reached the end of the hour, and seriously, that was a lot of information. So I hope that you didn't all fall asleep, and you can go back and kind of get a feel for how you do this. You will never really understand how to do it until you try and do this. And I am more than happy to answer questions on how to do it. If you want to have extra uh, assistance with it, we can do other webinars on this. And I would encourage everybody I did pass a link out at the very beginning for suggestions for new webinar topics. I will put that once again into the chat so that you can suggest webinar topics for the future. It would be very good, I think, if you can make the most of the software, really, if you can create your own template. So here's the link again. Okay, that is basically take you to a poll website where you can suggest topics for webinars, and if you need more information on certain things, put a suggestion in there. And I really hope to have regular sessions in 2024. And yeah, so if there are any questions, okay, I'll take them now. So cool. Okay, David Anders, how to screen for the cross up of short term over the midterm moving average. Okay, so that's really a question about cross, essentially. So yeah, so we have to go back to the chart script designer, and what we had was basically just tell us if the all of these were aligned, and not specifically the cross. So you're saying cross up of the short term over the midterm. Well, there is a function. There is a formula it's just called cross. So you can say cross MA underscore short term, comma MA underscore midterm. And if I say no render to this one, and we're only looking at the new one that I've just created, I'll add it to a sub area. So here you can see this gets fired one time, basically, when there's a cross. If I turn on rendering, well, if I had those, remember, I already have created a layout with the information that I want. So that's cool. Okay. So yeah, here you get to see where the crosses occur. Here and here and here. That's how you would do cross. And if you wanted to put that cross value into the template, then what you have to do is name this output line with something that is recognizable. So you could say MA cross colon, and then you would use that MA cross in the template itself. Instead of MA, or in addition, you would put another column in here, and you just say MA cross, MA cross. We'll say cross, and basically we'll copy that over to there, and should be good to go. Save it. And of course, we all like to see that that's going to work. And there we go. Cross, they're all yes. So obviously there's something wrong with that. Um, yeah, so I could go ahead and fix it, but I think we've kind of run out of time. Let me just see. This is something really obvious here. Oh, we know the script is working because we saw it on the chart. So it's nothing to do with the script. It is to do with the rendering of this. Yeah, I actually copied the whole thing over. This is MA cross. It just needs to be like that. It doesn't need to be a formula. I copied it from over here, which was my mistake. I just needed to put a actual value in there. All I wanted to do was copy the formatting, not the formula. So then I go over to templates and I'll do run again. And are there any crosses today? No. I think we can say that I'm only looking at a list of 180 odd stocks. And so the chances of there being a cross today it could be true. If you ran it on all stocks, 8,000, maybe there is something that did cross today. We'll let that run for a bit and I'll look at some other questions. Yeah, you're welcome, Henry. Yeah, and there was thanks to you that I remembered to show that today. Okay, cross. Are there any crosses? So there are. If you run it on all USA, there are some that actually did cross today. Right here, right here, right here, right here, etc. So yeah, so there are some. Okay, good. So does the product support backtesting on backtesting futures and SPX options? So the EdgeRater premium data that we have is uh, data, curated data, which has been adjusted for splits and dividends, which makes it ideal for backtesting for NASDAQ, MX, and NYSE. It does not have specifically futures or does not specifically have futures. And SPX options. So now you're now going into a whole different thing about options. But SPX futures, we don't have data. But the program can read in information from when you create a symbol list, you define where that information comes from. So the EdgeRater premium data comes from the EdgeRater data provider, but there are other data providers in here, such as Yahoo, ASCII files, metastock data files. So if you can put your data into a metastock data file in that format, it can be read by EdgeRater. Options is a whole other thing. We have options data in EdgeRater, but it is not all of the options data for all of the symbols. It's calculated values for things like implied volatility, and it allows you to do back testing on things like implied volatility. For instance, if IV rank is greater than a certain value and another technical indicator fires, is there an edge? So it allows you to do things like that. Okay, good. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Everybody, thanks for coming. And please do let me know in the poll about what you want to see in future webinars. And I'll send a link out to this recording once it's been downloaded and edited and put online. Thanks, guys.